विघ्न देजो मारा कापी रे रामा पहला समरू गणपति देवा पहला समरू गणपति देवा बीजे समरू शारदा माता बीजे समरू शारदा माता वाणी निर्मल आपी रे रामा वाणी निर्मल आपी रे रामा पहला समरू गणपति देवा पहला समरू गणपति देवा बीजे समरू गुरु चरण में बीजे समरू गुरु चरण में पावन की दापा पीरे रामा पावन की दापा पीरे रामा पहला समरू गणपति देवा पहला समरू गणपति देवा छोटे समरू माता पिता है छोटे समरू माता पिता है सद्बुद्धि बहु आपी रे रामा सद्बुद्धि बहु आपी रे रामा पहला समरू गणपति देवा पहला समरू गणपति देवा पूजित पंचम परमेश्वर ने पूजित पंचम परमेश्वर ने मानव पदवी आपी रे रामा मानव पदवी आपी रे रामा पहला समरू गणपति देवा पहला समरू गणपति देवा विघ्न देजो मारा कापी रे रामा विघ्न देजो मारा कापी रे रामा पहला समरू गणपति देवा पहला समरू गणपति देवा पूजित पंचम परमेश्वर ने पूजित पंचम परमेश्वर ने मानव पदवी आपी रे रामा मानव पदवी आपी रे रामा पहला समरू गणपति देवा पहला समरू गणपति देवा पहला समरू गणपति देवा पहला समरू गणपति देवा ओम श्री राम कृष्ण भगवान की जय।
ओम जय शिव शंकर जय अभयंकर
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 सांब सदा शिव शिव हर रे शिव हर रे शिव हर रे
सांब सदा शिव शिव हर रे शिव हर रे शिव हर रे
सांब सदा शिव शिव हर रे शिव हर रे शिव हर रे
सांब सदा शिव शिव हर रे शिव हर रे शिव हर रे
जय शिव शंकर जय अभयंकर शङ्कर
जय शिव शङ्कर जय अभयङ्कर
जय गङ्गाधर जय बिम्बाधर
जय गङ्गाधर जय बिम्बाधर
जय गङ्गाधर जय बिम्बाधर
जय गङ्गाधर जय बिम्बाधर
वाघम्बरधर शिव हर रे शिव हर रे शिव हर रे वाघम्बरधर शिव हर रे शिव हर रे शिव हर रे शङ्कर जय अभयङ्कर
जय शिव शङ्कर जय अभयङ्कर
जय शिव शङ्कर जय अभयङ्कर
जय शिव शङ्कर जय अभयङ्कर
साम्ब सदा शिव शिव हर रे शिव हर रे शिव हर रे
सदा शिव शिव हर रे शिव हर रे शिव हर रे
साम्ब सदा शिव शिव हर रे शिव हर रे शिव हर रे
साम्ब सदा शिव शिव हर रे शिव हर रे शिव हर रे
जय शिव शङ्कर जय अभयङ्कर
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 जय गङ्गाधर जय बिम्बाधर जय गङ्गाधर जय बिम्बाधर वाघम्बरधर शिव हर रे शिव हर रे शिव हर रे
शिव हर रे शिव हर रे शिव हर रे
वाघम्बरधर शिव हर रे शिव हर रे शिव हर रे जय शिव शङ्कर जय अभयङ्कर
श्री राम कृष्ण भगवान की जय। जय चामुण्डया कालिके जय जय जगदम्बा अलक निरंजन है शरणा कृपा करो अब अम्बा जय जय काली कपालिनी मातु देहु मोहि शक्ति हाथ जोर विनती करो सहित प्रेम और भक्ति बोलो श्री आदि शक्ति काली मात की जय। काली माता जय काली माता।
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 कौन जग में माता से प्यारे।
कौन है जग में माता से प्यारे।
कौन जग में माता से प्यारे।
कौन है जग में माता से प्यारे।
कौन जग में माता से प्यारे।
कौन है जग में माता से प्यारे।
कौन जग में माता से प्यारे।
कौन है जग में माता से प्यारे।
सबसे प्यारी काली माई।
सबसे प्यारी काली माई।
काली माता जय काली माता।
काली माता जय काली माता।
है सुख करनी सब दुख हरनी।
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 नर नारी का पालन करनी।
नर नारी का पालन करनी।
काली माता जय काली माता।
काली माता जय काली माता।
सुंदर मुखड़ा मुँह में लाली।
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 सबसे प्यारी काली माई।
सबसे प्यारी काली माई।
सबसे प्यारी काली माई।
सबसे प्यारी काली
माई सबसे प्यारी काली माई।
सबसे प्यारी काली
माई सबसे प्यारी काली माई।
सबसे प्यारी काली
माई काली Kali Mata.
Kali Mata Jai 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 Kali Mata.
सुंदर मुकड़ा मोह में लाली.
सुंदर मुखड़ा मोह में लाली.
सुंदर मुकड़ा मोह में लाली.
सुंदर मुखड़ा मोह में लाली.
सुंदर मुकड़ा मोह में लाली.
सुंदर मुखड़ा मोह में लाली.
सुंदर मुकड़ा मोह में लाली.
सुंदर मुखड़ा मोह में लाली.
सुंदर मुकड़ा मोह में लाली.
सुंदर मुखड़ा मोह में लाली.
सुंदर मुकड़ा मोह में लाली.
सुंदर मुखड़ा मोह में लाली.
सबसे प्यारी काली माई.
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 काली माता जय काली माता.
काली माता जय काली माता. ओम श्री राम कृष्ण भगवान की जय.
नमः श्रीयतिराजाय विवेकानन्दसूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे स्वामिने तापहारिणे. Salutations to that king of renounces, the sage Vivekananda, who is Satchitananda, existence, knowledge, and bliss absolute itself, the spiritual preceptor and the remover of distress. Om Namo Narayanaya, dear children and loving devotees. Today we shall read on An Amazing Maze by Swami Satyapriyananda. In the maze patterns we often come across in newspapers and magazines, the challenge is to find the route that goes from a location marked start to a place marked end. While there is at least one route from start to end, there are several other pathways which are either blind alleys which lead up to a stage and say, "This far and no further," or circulating alleys which keep us going round and round the same path. These blind and circular alleys are the real challenges. If we enter into these alleys, we halt at one stage, or we keep traveling without moving an inch towards the goal. This can be a frustrating experience. Then we try to start from the end and backtrack to the start. If the maze construction is balanced, then this too can be equally challenging and frustrating. If we could fly in a helicopter over the maze, then we can identify and color mark all blind and circular alleys. Now, having removed all unproductive routes, we can take the uncolored route to reach the end. If there is more than one uncolored route, then we choose the best, which is relative to our criterion, and move forward. If we cannot get a helicopter view because the maze structure is too large to fit into the domain of our mind and become capable of analysis, then we can try considering circular slices of the maze, called neighborhood. Commencing at the start will be ideal. After covering the neighborhood, we can consider points on the periphery of this circular slice as the center points. Thus, even with a limited mental capacity, we can move forward, studying the neighborhood, and in time cover the entire maze pattern. In real-life situations, we may experience other pathways termed repulsive pathways, where we may have certain inhibitions in taking those routes. These paths could include unpleasant sights or smells, interaction with corruption, or anything else one would wish to avoid. What is amazing about this maze in real-life situations is that from every start, several goals can be reached. These multiple goals further complicate the lives of those who face blind, circular, and repulsive pathways on their journey. Again, it is also possible that in some people's case, there are no blind, circular, or repulsive pathways. One advantage in real life is that we can journey with some ease because the problem-free pathways of the maze are already clearly marked out and traversed by many people. But sometimes, even after recognizing and avoiding problem-laden pathways, we find our journeys being derailed. We become victims of self-created problems. These problems can be of various kinds, like 1. Indecisiveness, with no goals or predetermined purpose in life, where we wander about either as a happy lot or in depression. 2. Inferiority complex. This deters one from making any move at all. The doubt, am I fit to serve such a holy person, can inhibit a person from giving even water to a thirsty person. 3. Superiority complex. This is the other extreme where we are overconfident of ourselves. 4. Peer pressure. The news of some people performing better in life makes one jealous and take to unwise moves. Cold, cruel competition kills all humane elements from the heart. 5. Psychological problems. This can be of most strange kinds, such as, my friend's mother loves my friend more and talks longer over the phone than my mother loves or spends time with me, can cause a young mind to even commit suicide. 6. Repeated failures. Repeated inability to discover the right path and make a mark in life can lead people to join antisocial groups or, as in some societies, even take to a shooting spree. With an array of problems in our life, we are led to ask the question, what is the way out of this maze of life? The idea of care and share and the concept of simple living and high thinking make the passage through life smoother. Holy Mother Sri Sarada Devi often observed that there is no greater virtue than forbearance, and no treasure greater than contentment. These two qualities of forbearance and contentment should be studiously practiced by us. Empathizing with others who are in misery will bring solace to them and peace to oneself. One should judge his or her capabilities and the avenues open for progress in the light of a SWOT analysis. That is, assessing one's strengths versus weaknesses and assessing opportunities versus threats in the attainable avenues. Receiving periodic guidance and counseling from elders relieves the distress level to a large extent. Without taking life's journey as a race for number one position, one should learn to enjoy the journey with self-confidence and composure. One should know the fundamental truth. We reap the benefits of our earlier actions and are therefore responsible for what we face in the present life. So, in true wisdom, let us not commit deeds now that will make us suffer in the future. There is always the guiding hand of the all-merciful God. As we swim along the current of our karma, He is there, ever eager to help us and guide us. We have to be prayerful, humble, and surrender to His will. At the end of the road and in retrospect, we will realize, Thy place in life is seeking after Thee. Therefore, be thou at rest from seeking after it. After all, that is the whole truth. The things after which one may and must seek are so very different. Let us try to understand the difference between what we may seek and what we must seek. It will make a sea change in the quality of our lives. I leave you with the following quote of Swami Vivekananda. Do you know how much energy, how many powers, how many forces are still lurking behind that frame of yours? What scientist has known all that is in man? Millions of years have passed since man first came here, and yet but one infinitesimal part of his powers can be manifested. Therefore, you must not say that you are weak. How do you know what possibilities lie behind that degradation on the surface? You know but little of that which is within you. For behind you is the ocean of infinite power and blessedness. Look back on yourselves from the state of the amoeba to the human being. Who made all that? Your own will. Can you deny then that it is the Almighty? That which has made you come up so high can make you go higher still. What you want is character, strengthening of the will. May we find the power within ourselves to reach the goal. Hari Om Tat Sat.
Om Jai Ganesha Gananath Dayanidhi Sakhala Vighan Kara Dura Hamare Mama Vandana Svikar Karo Prabhu Charan Sharan Hama आये तुम्हारे जय गणेश गणनाथ दयानिधि जय नंद लाला जय गोपाला
Jai Nandalala, Jai Gopala,
जय नंदलाला जय जय श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजने हरि का प्यारा नाम है
श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजने हरि का प्यारा नाम है
गोपाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है नंदलाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है
गोपाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है नंदलाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है
जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला
जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला
मोर मुकुट सिर गल बनमाला केसर तिलक लगाए केसर तिलक लगाए
मोर मुकुट सिर गल बनमाला केसर तिलक लगाए केसर तिलक लगाए
वृंदावन के कुंच गलिन में सबको नाच नचावे
ओहो
सबको नाच नचावे श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजने हरि का प्यारा नाम है
श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजने हरि का प्यारा नाम है
जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला
जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला
यमुना किनारी देनु चरावे माधव मदन मुरारी माधव मदन मुरारी
यमुना किनारे तेर चरावे माधव मदन मुरारी माधव मदन मुरारी
मधुरा मुरलिया चबी बजावे हर ले सुध बुध सारी
ओहो हर वे सुध बुध सारी
श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजने हरि का प्यारा नाम है
श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजने हरि का प्यारा नाम है
गोपाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है नंदलाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है
गोपाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है नंदलाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है
जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला
जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला
गिरधर नागर कहते मीरा सूर को श्यामल बाया सूर को श्यामल बाया
गिरधर नागर कहते मीरा सूरप श्यामल भाया सूरप श्यामल भाया
तुकाराम और नाम देव ने वित्तल वित्तल गाया
ओहो विठ्ठल विठ्ठल गाया
श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजने हरि का प्यारा नाम है
श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजने हरि का प्यारा नाम है
जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला
जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला
राधा शक्ति बिना न कोई श्यामल दर्शन पावे श्यामल दर्शन पावे
राधा शक्ति बिना न कोई श्यामल दर्शन पावे श्यामल दर्शन पावे
आराधन करे राधे राधे काना बागे आवे
ओहो कान्हा भागे आवे
श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजने हरि का प्यारा नाम है
श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजने हरि का प्यारा नाम है
गोपाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है नंदलाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है
गोपाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है नंदलाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है
जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला
जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला
जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला
जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला ओम श्री राम कृष्ण भगवान की जय
Om Namo Narayanaya, dear sisters and brothers. Let us meditate on the radiant form of God seated in our hearts. Glory to Sri Ramakrishna, who is like a bridge to cross over the ocean of this world, and who is the Guru, the spiritual teacher of all spiritual aspirants. Saluting your lotus feet in the morning easily removes the miseries of the world. Knowing this, the devotees devotionally take refuge at your feet. O Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna, we adore you this holy morning. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
ॐ सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरि ओम तत्सत्
जय श्री गुरु महाराज की
जय।
महामाई की
जय।
स्वामी जी महाराज की
जय।
गंगा मात की
जय।
महावीर स्वामी जी की
जय।
सर्व ऋषि मुनीन की
जय। पार्वती पतये हर हर महादेव की जय। ओम नमो नारायणाय।
सर्वदेवदेवी स्वरूपाय Shri Ramakrishnaya Namaha. I offer my salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, who is the embodiment of all gods and goddesses. Om Namo Narayanaya, respected elders, dear sisters and brothers. We are undoubtedly faced with hardships during these uncertain times. Today, we remind ourselves, now more than ever, that we can find solace in God. Through the narration of stories from our Master, Sri Ramakrishna's life, we find great inspiration. The first story occurs in Master's childhood. In the year 1843, Shudiram, who was Master's father, suddenly died. This great change caused a lot of grief for Master, who was known as Gadadhar in his youth. In an attempt to lessen the burden on his mother, he took up many new responsibilities around the house. Gadadhar remained dutiful to his mother, even during this great adversity. During this time, he also became very absorbed in the thought of God. He was often found frequenting the mango grove or cremation grounds, spending long hours thinking of God. He soon found a new source of upliftment in the company of wandering monks, who stayed in the nearby rest house. He was greatly impressed by their serenity and how they always thought of God and sang his praises. When they came for alms, he would anxiously serve them to the best of his ability, by lighting their fire, helping them cook, and so on. Gadadhar, even at such a young age, understood that great joy and solace could be found in serving a holy cause. This incident in the boyhood days of Sri Ramakrishna clearly shows the need to remain dutiful and considerate of those around us during hardships. Just as Gadadhar prioritized helping his family during their shared grief, we too must work to empathize with our family members. As the youth, we should take every opportunity to help our parents and elders while at home, as we are showing our gratitude for all they do for us. Everyone is affected by the COVID-19 pandemic in one way or another. Feelings of anxiety and distress can be triggered in such uncertainty. We should look to how Gadadhar, when faced with personal tragedy, found solace in God. He spent his time worshipping God and doing honest work serving the monks. Through simple, regular meditation and japa, which is the repetition of God's name, we can calm ourselves, feel closer to God, and go about our day with a positive mind. This helps us find the comfort we need to keep our heads up in any situation. We are fortunate to have online satsangs available weekly, which are very easy to access. It gives us great energy and perspective to face the week ahead. The way that the Master worshipped was very unique indeed. He would become completely oblivious of his surroundings and was totally focused on the Divine Mother Kali, whom he worshipped with sincere love and devotion. He longed to be blessed with the vision of her. When everyone was asleep, he would go to the jungle for spiritual practices and return in the morning tearfully because he had not yet had a vision of the Divine Mother. Radhe, Master's nephew, asked where he went, but was not satisfied with the answer he received. So, Radhe followed Master into the jungle one night. He even threw stones into the jungle to see what would happen. However, as the Master was in deep meditation, he did not notice it. Radhe tried to attract Master's attention, but was not successful. Later, when Master regained consciousness of his surroundings, Radhe asked why he had gone to the jungle to perform spiritual practices. Sri Ramakrishna replied, "Why, don't you know? We have so many fetters such as hatred, shame, fame, fear, pride of caste, and so on. When we meditate on the Divine Mother, we should give up all these and be free of attachments of all the things of this world." This story is most effective in illustrating that we have to come to God with no reservations and a pure heart. The Master even removed his sacred thread because he understood that we have to give up all our worldly attachments when worshipping God. During the Master's young adult years, he yearned for the vision of the Divine Mother. He pleaded for a vision of her, with tears in his eyes, and as each day passed, he would exclaim his disappointment, as he had not seen her yet. These displays of crying out for the Divine Mother would attract onlookers who actually thought he had lost his earthly mother and felt sorry for him. Master would ask the image of Mother Kali, "So you won't show yourself to me? Does that mean you do not exist at all?" He then remembered the saints who had seen her in the past and longed for her even more by rubbing his tearful face on the banks of the Ganga. The Master was now completely focused on having a vision of the Divine Mother. He rarely slept and did not care for his physical well-being. He used the following story to explain his actions. If a thief was sleeping in a room and there was a bag of gold in the next room, would the thief be able to sleep? His mind would be solely on obtaining the gold. Much like the thief, when the Master knew of the existence of the Divine Mother, how could he think of anything else? The Master eventually exclaimed, "Mother, you showed yourself to others, then why not me?" He could not bear to be separated from the Divine Mother any longer and wanted to end his life. Just then, the Mother revealed herself in a very special and unique way. The Master saw that all physical objects around him faded away, and the Divine Mother appeared before him in waves upon waves of unending, blissful light. In any direction that the Master looked, all he could see was the presence of the Divine Mother in the form of brilliant divine light. The Divine Mother revealed to the Master that she lived in the heart of every being, including himself. From now on, Master saw no difference between himself and the Divine Mother. Thus, while worshipping, he would put a flower on his own head instead of offering it to the Mother. After this experience, the Master longed to be in the blissful company of God constantly. He yearned to be with the Divine Mother, and in a state of divine spiritual ecstasy, he would lose consciousness. He considered Mother Kali to be more real than the external material objects of this world. All of the above stories show Master's intense yearning for God. He did not care for worldly attachment because he knew that the only truth came from the Lord. His yearning was so great that people considered him to be mad. What we learn from Master's spiritual practices is that he was not mad, but rather deeply absorbed in the thought of the Divine Mother. We too should also try to imbibe this deep devotion in our daily life. Just as the Master was disciplined and devoted to the worship of God, we must also try to perform our spiritual practices regularly and with sincerity. Spiritual practices such as japa, which is the silent repetition of God's name, and meditation help to bring us closer to God. We can easily set aside a few minutes daily to worship God. When we sit to perform our spiritual practices, we surrender everything to God. As the Master once said, "What are you to do when you are placed in this world? Give up everything to Him, resign yourself to Him, and there will be no more trouble for you. Then you will come to know that everything is done by His will." Now more than ever, we need to actively look to God for guidance. Master has graciously explained spiritual teachings through interesting parables and sayings so that we may find the answers to our spiritual questions. God alone will give us the resilience and courage needed to withstand all the challenges that we face. The Master once said, "As a boy holding onto a post or pillar whirls about with headlong speed without fear of falling, so perform your worldly duties, fixing your hold firmly upon God, and you shall be free from danger." This saying of the Master shows us that we can continue to do our daily duties with one hand, and with the other hand we can hold on to the feet of God, who is our pillar of strength. We should always remember that when we have completed our duties, we can hold on to God's feet with both of our hands. May we find peace and courage. Om Namo Narayanaya.